Welcome to the Talented Investors That Share podcast.
You're really going with that? That's the name? Have you figured out what it spells?
All right, and welcome to the Talented Investors That Share podcast. Today with us we have Carlos Salazar. Welcome, Carlos. So I want to give you a brief intro as to like why the heck you should even care that Carlos is here. I would say that he's an operator of high integrity. He is someone that's doing appreciable business, and he's also someone that I consider a dear friend and has been an integral part in Amanda and I's success. So when I say that I'm bringing him here, it's not just because he's able to bring an audience or because he's somebody that we enjoy. We do all that stuff. It's basically he is somebody that has been such a big part of our journey that we just absolutely have to share his story. And we think that's going to provide some real value here today. So, Carlos, thanks for being here. You're doing real business.
Thank you for having me. You think so?
I think you're doing real business. And I do appreciate your humbleness. All right. So, but I'm going to ask you to leave a little bit of that at the door today, because I think you would claim you own no real estate. You don't know anything about real estate.
Sure.
You know people that do real estate, but you yourself don't, right?
Yeah.
All right, but
I'm a contractor. I don't, I'll take people's money and make them money, but I downplay all of it.
Right. So if we had to say like exactly where your journey started, you're originally you're not from Richmond, Virginia. So where are you from originally?
Maryland.
Okay. So Maryland is where you got your real estate start as well up there.
Correct.
Too. So your first home that you don't own, but somehow affiliate yourself with, is up there in Maryland.
It's in Maryland.
And how long did you play in that space up there in Maryland?
So not long, really since 2009 was my first like proper acquisition, I would say. And that was back when I was starting off in college.
Okay.
So early on.
So you've been doing real estate essentially since college. I mean, you knew from the beginning. So how did you think like this is my thing?
No, I guess that's a misnomer. I didn't know at the beginning. I was kind of forced into it by my father. Okay. So my father owned real estate, and it was just one of those, hey, American dream, you buy real estate and that's kind of your safety net. So he had a few, and most of them were in Baltimore. It was really cheap. It still is relatively inexpensive compared to most of the market in Maryland. So he bought there, and it was just like something that appreciated, cash flowed, and he did well with it. And then he started wanting to move closer to where we lived, which was close to DC. And obviously it was more expensive. And in order to do that, he suggested that we do one together. So the first one is with my dad.
Oh, nice.
So we did that.
What's that like working with your dad? Is that
I wouldn't even call it that I really worked with him. Like, I was just like, cool, whatever you say, Dad. He bought it. He did all the improvements. He managed it. I just went to school. Like, I blinked and woke up one day 4 years later, and I was getting out of school, and I was just like, oh, this thing cash flows. Cool. And again, I blinked again several years later. Then it was like, oh, like this thing is a real thing.
Gotcha. Would you suggest for somebody that's listening and they're just now getting started, would you suggest that they start in college or just enjoy your college years and then worry about it later?
That's a great question. I would probably go for try it. Try to see whatever you can do while you're in school. It's never too late. It's never too early.
Right.
So jump into it whatever way you can, right? So if that means that you have some money, you work part-time and you go to school part-time or work full-time but go to school part-time, and you have some money saved up and you just want to get out of your parents, whatever it is, do that. I mean, I suggested that to my youngest brother. He was in school and I was just like, dude, he went to school in Baltimore. I was like, buy a house and rent out a couple of rooms.
Mm-hmm.
He didn't end up doing it, but he definitely played with the idea. And if he would have been further ahead of anybody in his age group. Right. So if you can, I think it ends up starting to turn the wheels. So instead of the average homeowner starts at 35-ish, right? Mm-hmm. So if you start thinking about it at 20,
right,
and you buy your first one at 27, you're light years away from everybody else. So I think it just starts to turn those wheels. Yeah. Right. And there's no harm to that.
Yeah, it's funny, like whenever you talk to somebody and they're like, oh, you own X amount of doors. Oh, that's so impressive. And I'm like, well, and then I'll talk to them and I'll say, well, how many do you own? And I'll say, I own one or two. And I'm like, Well, good news. That's one or two more than about 99% of America. So like, it doesn't take much to separate yourself from the herd. So.
Exactly.
That's cool. So you started in college, and then when would you say that like you really started to pick things up?
I would say, I guess 2013 was my first time buying it. Well, it was with my wife. It was with Rocio. But it was the first time that we bought something where we were like, okay, this will be our primary, and then we're going to end up turning that into a rental. So we weren't like proper investors, I would say, at that point, but we had the whole like house hacking thing that we were going to do. It was getting floated around. It had a basement. It had a little kitchenette. So we were like, it's perfect, right? We'll live upstairs. We'll rent it downstairs, and it'll pay for part of our mortgage. And that's exactly how it worked out. We did that. And of course, we had people that didn't pay, but like eventually it did. And then it worked out, and it cash flowed essentially up until we sold it. So we did sell that one recently, actually. So, so we started that in 2013. So I would say that like my first proper, it sparked the interest in '09 when we got the first one. I blinked, turned on, blinked, and then saw that it was cash flowing. But it ignited I think I should really do this real estate investing thing, at least on the side, because I had graduated. I was a white collar guy. But I was like, I should do this too.
And you're an accountant by trade originally, right?
Yeah. So I went to school. I have 2 degrees. One's in criminal justice. Didn't pursue that, and then went back to school for accounting.
Yeah, good call.
And then did accounting for a little bit.
I don't think criminal justice pays as well.
No, and neither does accounting.
Unless you cook the books.
Unless you're in Ozark. Yeah, you're right.
Exactly.
Unless you're cooking a book.
Full Marty Bird. Yeah.
Exactly.
Although that does have some occupational risks that come along with that.
Sure, it does. All of it.
And all that. Yeah. All right. So we'll move past cooking the books. So when you moved to Richmond, is that when things really started to accelerate, or were you still doing that in DC, picking up the pace?
No, so we bought our first one in Richmond officially in 2000. I think it was like 17 or 18 or something. And it was Rocio. She was initially the one that was looking to buy something. And we were just going to kind of take it slow and easy. We were both professionals. We were just like, we'll dump $25,000 into it, but this will be exclusively a rental. So it took a little bit from 13 to 18. So it took 5 years to like get our first, we're going to buy exclusively a rental, right? And that ended up being a thing that she not only did alone, but we ended up doing together for qualifying reasons and cash down type reasons. But after 2018, 2019, it was really percolating. It was just like, I got the bug. And I wasn't talking to anybody in Richmond, which was like the weird thing. So I didn't know about.
So it's like YouTube? Like what is it all of a sudden just made you go like,
it was just my dad. It was my uncle. So I have an uncle. Yeah. Him and my dad are really close, and he has an enormous portfolio in Baltimore. Commercial buildings, entire blocks. I mean, he was buying, it would be like 24 homes for like $350,000, right? And he would just buy all of them. And he had a concrete company, and he would employ his concrete employees, and they would all live in those row homes, right? So I saw what he was doing, and I saw where it was taking him.
Yeah.
And I was just like, I got to do something, even if it's just to my dad's level, which was not nothing, right? But it was just like at least a handful, right? So it wasn't really YouTube until 2019. So I had already bought the one here in Richmond. 2019, we were like, you know what? I need to start looking into it a little bit more. By the end of 2019, that's when Rocio was like, you need to leave your job. So she was the motivating force to like leave my job and do this full time. So we only had, I maybe skipped a couple of other properties that we bought in Maryland, but they were also, again, with my dad. So it was kind of like hands off. Was it really me? I don't know. So it was like 4 or 5 that we had.
Okay.
But in 2019, she was like, you need to leave your job. Because I was really unhappy. I was going down the CPA partner route. Like, was that really what I was going to do? And with 2 little ones, as you know, going into work at 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning, getting home at 7 o'clock at night was just not something that I really wanted to continue to do.
Essentially, at that point, you see him for all of 45 minutes at best, and then off to bed.
Yeah. I mean, most of people I worked with got in at 8 o'clock and left at midnight. And I was just like, I have to see my kids and have dinner with them. and it just didn't match with the culture of the place. And I could have gone somewhere else and not done public accounting, but it just didn't quite click.
Yeah.
And I saw the fruit in real estate.
So you had 4 or 5 cash flowing assets. Then all of a sudden you're like, I'm going to quit my job. So then what the heck were you going to do that was going to generate revenue to make this all worth it?
So I was fortunate to be supported by Rocio. She was the one that was motivating, and she made a pretty decent income.
Okay.
Strong 6 figures. Yeah. We could totally live off her income if all I did was just get enough to like BRRRR stuff, right? If I could recycle the money continuously and maybe flip a house here and there, we were fine.
Gotcha.
So we really weren't concerned about, like, we had some money on savings, but I was more concerned about, are we going to be able to make it? And she was like, I make enough and we have money in savings. We're fine.
So you found your sugar mama who supported this crazy. Well, really, I mean, it wasn't like you just came to her with this idea. She was like, Carlos, you need to go do this.
Yeah.
You need to be productive in this part of the world. I think that's a compliment though, because like that she's basically saying, I believe in you.
Yeah.
Which is something Amanda and I have talked about a lot, that like not everybody gets that. Like a lot of people get that like, oh no, what is Carlos getting himself into?
Yeah.
Instead, you got the like, I believe in you. You're passionate about this. I think you can be successful and you can achieve our family's vision in it. Like that's about the biggest compliment a wife can give to a husband.
Yeah. No, my life would be completely different if it wasn't for someone like Rocio. Yeah, she sees things or has a vision of my opportunities way beyond what I can see them as, right? Like, as you were joking earlier, like, I know you're humble or whatever, but like, I do really carry that with me a lot. It's just like, I don't overplay it. I don't beat my chest about anything, but she sees it and she kind of like reminds me of it. And I'll do things that are like way out of my league, right? To kind of show that I know that I have the skill sets for it, but I don't really like put it out there.
Right.
Right. So she reminds me that it's like, it's okay.
Yeah.
Just go fucking do it.
So 2019, I think that's the first F-bomb on the podcast. I just want everyone to be aware that I probably curse the most in real life, and I'm the only one that hasn't cursed on here so far. So,
we should have
there's no real policy. There's no real policy on this. I want to let everyone know. So far, I've been the most professional, and everyone's expecting me to just fail miserably at that. So I'm sure at some point I'll loosen up, and then you'll just be like, "This is."
We have the drinks coming, or
no? Yeah, unfortunately, I don't touch the stuff much these days. I'm open-minded to get other people drunk and just see what they'll tell me. But we'll see about that.
Is that what you slipped in the water?
That's episode 3, I think.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
All right. But 2019, you were saying.
But 2019, that in Richmond, leave the job, burn the ships. And then, so at what pace did you start doing deals? I mean, is this like, okay, I'm doing a deal every 5 seconds, a deal, two deals that year? Like what picked up?
It was slow. So I bought one in August, right before COVID, right? So August of 19. It was ready to get listed in, call it April, right? And we had COVID in March. So bit of a panic there, but we still bought something in May. And then I think we bought our third in November. We kept all 3. Okay. Again, because that was the plan. It was never to sell anything.
And did you BRRRR and actually get a chance to cash out on those, or were they just straight up, we just got what we...
Yeah, no. The first one we bought for 85, spent 100. So we were all in like 185 or something. And then we ended up refinancing for like 215. So we made well.
And that's a big project. Did you manage that entirely yourself?
Yep. From Maryland for maybe like 2-3 months of it. Again, I had nobody.
When did you get off doing $100,000 projects? Like as your first,
I don't know.
Your first real thing. Like, is it like, were you just like, how hard could it be? Like,
No. So, all right. So a little bit more of a backstory. So my godfather owned a construction company in Maryland. And I would work for him during the summers, right? During the summers in high school, sometimes during the summers in college, and I would just help him out. So at the beginning, it was just like I was a day laborer, hands on paint and doing all kinds of stuff. And then towards the end, I was doing more like, meeting clients and, doing the numbers for estimates and just kind of walking customers through stuff because he was a contractor, right? So I was already comfortable with the numbers, construction, the rhythm of construction, what was important to be done first, second, third, whatever. And we had the money for it. So it was like, there was big upside. Like we could definitely sell it for $275 or whatever. So we were like, we should try it out. So what I did is I to your point, I didn't know anything in Richmond, anybody in Richmond, right? So I got on Bigger Pockets and I was like reaching out to everybody on Bigger Pockets. I was like a sponsored floor guy, sponsored painter, and those numbers didn't work out. I was gonna curse. We're not gonna put another tally,
dude. I don't.
Is that
care.
okay?
I do not care. I do not.
It wasn't gonna work.
You're not gonna lose a sponsor.
True. I don't have anything to be sponsored. I'm sorry, I don't do any business. But I reached out to all these people and their numbers were ridiculous. So what I ended up doing, which is insane, is I would get guys from Maryland that I knew from my godfather, so I had connections with them still, and I would essentially like hire them to come down. So they would stay in the house that was demoed and it would sleep there. Like, I don't even know how I pulled that off, but I guess it shows that I'm a salesperson. I don't know.
Which is totally legal.
But they moved down and they would crush for like 72 hours and like do all of the plumbing and all of the electrical in that like short amount of time. So I just continued to do that over and over and over and over and over again for the entirety of the project. And I think that jaded me to like now with my current projects, like I expect the same thing. They just wanted to get back home, right? Like
I was told I have to install 1,200 square feet of plumbing, and then I get to go home. And you're just like
against their will.
This is a 3-day project.
I wasn't holding them against their will, but they wanted to be there. I was paying them well.
I know. But any gig, if you're on the road, you want to get home.
You want to get home. Yeah. So I felt that they had more motivation to get things done and not shoot the shit and like lollygag and whatever than like guys here in Richmond, right? I was a Maryland guy with a Maryland number and Maryland tags, and they were just like, this Northern Virginia guy, fuck him, right? Like, let's charge him twice as much, opposed to bringing a Maryland guy. So that's how I got off on doing like $100,000 renovation. It was just like, it just made sense for me because I was just like putting the pieces together that I was familiar with and knew. The second project wasn't as deep. Though the second project, that first project, we didn't do hard money or anything. Again, we were totally new to it. So we went to like Truist, or they weren't Truist then, but it was like SunTrust.
Yeah.
It was like that. The second one we bought in Southside. We still own it. Bought it for $50,000 or $55,000 or something like that. We BRRRR'd it, spent like $15,000 or $20,000 on improving it, and it refied it for like $85,000. So like I was already proving to myself that like you could BRRRR it, pull out a little bit of money cash, and it would cash flow.
Yes.
And I was just like, you know what? I let me not get ahead of myself and then like be in need of money and just be money crunched, right? So, that's so much so at the beginning. So that's why I think I only did like 2 or 3, let's call it, by the end of the year. So maybe like 14 months. So I did only 2 or 3 within the 14-month period because I was just like, I know it works, but I don't want to make a mistake because I'm so new. I don't want to make a mistake and then be fucked, right? Where I can't do it anymore and then I have to go back to work. So that's why I took it slow at the beginning. Year 2, I think I did like 5. And year 3, it exponentially took off after that.
And then, of course, I think I met you in, I guess, either the end of 2020, beginning of 21. And then you were just already doing projects, and I was like, he seems like a nice guy. And I was like, hey, you know, I'm looking for somebody to help me do my own projects. And you're like, I'll do that. I'm like, oh, okay. And then 9 projects later, I'm like, this has worked out.
How many months?
It was not a long period of time. Essentially, I think it was that we'd started wholesaling, and then we were like, well, let's acquire 7 houses. And then we did it in like 3 months or something like that. And that admittedly, that was too quick. Yeah. But
that's what I was afraid of when doing my own projects. I didn't want that.
Yeah.
Because then after that, you were, and maybe I'm oversharing, but like you guys were burnt out. Like
that was mentally taxing.
It was tough on you guys
because you're constantly trying to juggle. Like, okay, let me just get the timing of this, and when's the money coming in for that, and whatever. Yeah. And like we were able to make it work, and I think a lot of that is to like Amanda's credit there. But like that, there's a level of blood pressure that I don't want to repeat again.
And it could have gone bad. Obviously, like we have a good relationship, and like
Right.
we made sure that it went to the end, the refi, like everything ended up being fine, right, for the start to finish on the projects. I think we delayed on one. Like there was one project that it was a bit slow on, but like everything was pretty much on pace. But I was afraid when I was doing them, and that's why I feel like I have such commitment to, like, if I tell you I'm going to do something, I don't want to be told something and then it goes sideways, and then you expect to have your money back or to refi or to reuse that money for another set of projects that you wanted to do, and you couldn't.
Yeah.
And that's what I was afraid of, being a Maryland guy and trying to like overcommit here, because they were just going to take me for a ride.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
And so not only were you doing your own projects, you did in, again, a very short period of time, 9 for me. And then those are still in our portfolio today. So thank you. Those worked out well. I think it was also like a period of COVID where, like, if you don't like the numbers, just hold the house for another month and it'll be worth 30 grand more.
For sure.
But like, so that was a weird time in life. So like the one, I guess really like one of the one fringe benefit of COVID was just like, if you don't like your numbers, you know, turn around and they'll be better.
Yeah, go to sleep and wake up and they might be.
Right. So I think we bought right anyway, but like we were always impressed by what things would appraise for, things would go for, because you were just watching, you know, just the numbers go bananas.
Fantastic. Kind of wish we bought more though. I don't know about you, but I kind of wish I'd just gone gangbusters.
For us, I go back to like, this was this point where, because we were trying to stand up and not only meet, but exceed our own personal income, for our W-2 income. Cause this was like around that 2021 period was like, we just left our jobs. So like, obviously that W-2 income, it's one thing when a plane loses one engine, and it's another thing to lose both.
Yeah.
So we're just trying to make enough money in the wholesaling and the burring, because I think it was doing so well at that time. You could burr and cash out, and so like still make your wholesale fee and own a house.
Yep.
And not as much today at 7.5%, DSCR lending and stuff like that.
Harder.
So, and expectations of sellers, and that's its own podcast. But so I just look back at that and I'm like, who was this guy that was somehow willing to take these projects on, end up becoming a friend? So this is really cool. And then just also, so now we've got, I think 7 of those we kept, 2 of those we flipped. And then we've known each other ever since. But you really started to pick up the pace in not just flipping, but also in wholesaling within the last year. How long has this been now? Because I feel every time I turn around, it's like you've got another avenue, because now you got Airbnb, wholesaling, flipping. Am I missing anything here?
Rentals, property management, and agent, like a small team, but looking to expand that too.
Okay. So
yeah, I don't do much, guys.
Yeah, exactly. So humble, he doesn't do anything except for the 7 things he just listed, and probably 2 others he just forgot.
True.
It's okay, man.
Yeah. Thanks.
So now you're at the point where you're regularly doing construction jobs. Since you're doing your own, you don't really need to be a licensed contractor. Is this ever something you've ever considered pursuing?
Becoming a GC.
Yeah, like just being a full Class A, because these are only your own things. So we know you don't have to be.
Yeah.
What do you like about not being?
I never want to work for anyone. We worked together. That's how I always like explain it to myself or to others. Is like, we work together. And I did that with you and like one other person maybe. But it was always like a calculated relationship of like, good people, I like them, I respect them, I think it's mutual, let's give this a shot. But like, I never wanted to have a good client. I never wanted to be beholden to anybody. It's like, this blue isn't blue enough. Like, you know me, I don't have much of a patience to like, fuck, like, you brought the paint. Like, so I never wanted to be beholden to anybody. So I never wanted to be, I never wanted anybody to see that as like but you can do that. And I would see the estimate, or I could create an estimate. I'm like, maybe in like 3 weeks we make 10 grand. So like, maybe I should do it. So like, I was afraid that that could pull me in too. But I never wanted to work for someone. So that was stronger than like the 10,000 we could make in 3 weeks type of thing.
So you've self-managed all these projects. So I guess the route to take this from here is, So you've had considerable experience in I'll just say construction, generally speaking. What do you see that most people completely miss? I mean, because I know from my own sake that like I didn't account for things like electrical panels or landscaping, and it was like a lot of like nickel and dime stuff.
It's nickel and dime stuff. That's really it.
Is it?
Yep.
Is it really that? I mean, because most people like they account for the roof and they account for
They're
whatever.
like windows, roof, LVP flooring, new kitchen, new bath, like the exciting stuff, right? The stuff that's going to make it look different. That's what they usually account for. And what people don't is like the things that don't materially make a change, but are necessary. So like a panel, like you said.
So all of a sudden you go to put a new HVAC unit in there, which you've accounted for, but you don't realize it's on a 75 amp breaker or something like that. And you're like, this is 1,400 square feet. We're probably going to need more amps.
Yeah. So it's like seeing that. And sometimes you can save yourself if there's a gas meter, right? So it's like, all right, so we'll do heat with gas and then we'll do the panel with electric. So like there's ways to kind of play that, right? Like move the shelves around. But if you move the panel, then you'll start to consider the panel. But most people don't. They're just like, there's a panel there, there's power, good to go, right?
Gotcha.
But it'll be things too like, if you're going to flip it, at least for me, it'll be like consistent trim throughout, right? And that, you gotta have that demoed, and you have to like put it up, then you have to prime it and paint it and have the fine carpenter cut it all. Like that ends up being $1,200, $1,500, $2,000. And it's like, you didn't even account for that, but it makes a difference if you're trying to sell a $350,000 house, right? So, and those are the little
hinges.
Yeah,
the doors themselves, are they flat panel doors? Are they actually have panels to them?
Yeah. Are they special doors? You have to order them. Do you have to are they solid doors? Because the rest of the house is solid doors, and you're gonna put those are the little things. At least in my experience, and I could be completely off, but I think that being consistent and mindful of those things during the renovation, buyers walk in and they'll be like, oh, the house feels great. And they don't know what the feeling is, but it's the feeling of continuity and consistency throughout the house.
Yeah.
Right? If there's something that's off, they're not designers, they're not architects, they're not whatever. So they might not pick up on it, but they're like, something's off.
It's like if you paint a room, but it's got tan electrical outlets and tan switches from the 1980s.
Yeah.
Like, this was half-assed.
Yeah. Or sometimes they're just like, this house feels old. And it's like, yeah, because your switches and outlets are yellow. It's like they may not even caught that's beige or yellow, right? But they're hoping for the white, but they don't realize that they're not catching the white.
Right.
So it's little things like that I do, and most people think about later that end up nipping them.
Vent covers,
it ends up
hinges and doorknobs. I think it's a big you take brass away and you put black doorknobs and hinges. That's just what 2024 HGTV clientele wants, right?
Yeah.
Revere pewter walls, but then you've got beige outlets. Just you're like, oh, it's nice. Let's go look at another one.
Yeah.
So when you're walking into a house for the first time, because I've seen you do it, and I think to a certain point, now, to the untrained eye, which I'll say is me, when I see you walk into a house, you just can pretty much do this and go, yeah, I think we'll take it. Which looks badass, by the way. It's just, I'm like, this guy's got some balls to just be able to walk in, kind of look up, look down, look all around, and then be like, we'll take it. What is that besides just a visual, I think you once mentioned to me things like flat floors, but what do you typically, from start to finish, before you're deciding, I think this is a project for us, what are you seeing? So from somebody that is trying to dip their toe into construction, they're like, okay, well, I'm definitely not a construction guy. Yeah. Okay, they mentioned outlets. All right, outlets, check. What's the first thing you're looking for when you're walking into a house?
Floors, foundation, things that are sunken cost, right? So things that you'll have to spend money on that you won't see any material difference in the after repair value price that you make up, right? That's number one. I'm also, in a weird way, I'm kind of seeing the finished product as I'm walking through. No matter how high, you just had one that's to the ceiling with trash, but that obviously I wouldn't be able to walk through, but I would just look at other comps that the builds similar, and then I'd be like, okay, this is the layout.
Yeah.
It's likely that wall is still there, so then I have to demo that wall. So I'm looking at layout. I'm seeing the finished product when I'm walking through the house, right? So the stuff, and it's not to sound like I'm super expert at this thing, but like the roof, windows, floors, bathroom, kitchen, like I don't even think about that stuff anymore because it's like, oh, because 1.5. I'm gonna tear out the floors in the bathroom. Like it's not like are the floors soft? It's not.
It's vinyl from 1983. It's
it probably have 2-3 layers.
1964 tile that's already cracked.
The toilet's probably been leaking for 7 years. Like so, I just assume it's 2 sheets of plywood, and if we need to sister a couple of joists, then we do. But like I assume that already, and my guys already know. So like my price difference between like not replacing the floor and replacing the floor is like $200, right? Like it's almost insignificant compared to most people. So that's why I don't even think of those things anymore. I think of like all the little knickknacks.
So obviously we'd be talking Richmond math. So we're not trying to, talk Northern California. We're not trying to talk, LA, Beverly Hills kind of math. And obviously the price points for Richmond. But when do you simplify it to a point where you can say like a bathroom's $5,000? Do you put it at that point? I just put a round number on it.
Yeah.
So what would you say again, for anybody at home, your mileage may vary. So this is a great conversation to have with the investors in your area at your local meetups. But like for us here in Richmond, what would you say? Like, I'm going to do a half bath. What is that to you? What number do you put on that?
2,500.
2,500. Full bath.
It's probably like 4,500.
And for you, that's
2,000.
What type of fixtures and finishes are going to be in something like that?
Very consistent. Okay. And that's probably another benefit. So subway tile. I still do subway tile across the board.
So plain white subway tile.
Plain white subway tile. Depending on the finished product, if it's a flip or if it's a rental, I lay the tile differently. I'll put different grout. I'll put different trim edges. But like materially, like the cost is the same essentially, but I just make it look different. Right.
Yeah, I remember one time you were like so specific about it. Like I forget which one it was, but you got like your tile from Home Depot or Lowe's.
Percent.
And then like and there was like one, like for whatever reason, one of the Home Depot was out of tile that day. So you went to Lowe's and you were like, it's off by 1/16 of an inch and I can tell.
Yeah.
Like your eyes twitching and like you had them rip it all out and everything because you're like, it's not right. And I mean, you were right. And I'm like, I don't think anybody would have noticed this, but like you're a stickler for details. So you stay pretty much consistent, same white subway tile.
Yep.
And that doesn't matter if it's like a fiberglass tub, like you're still going to do white subway tile.
Run it out.
Yeah.
Yep.
Are you putting in, will you put a fiberglass tub back in there?
Oh, you mean like the tub? Yeah. I would do that. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Sorry. I mean, I thought you meant surround, but yeah, if it's surround, I'm taking that out. But a tub, fiberglass, I'm leaving it in there and still doing tile.
Do you like to refinish tubs, or are you if you just don't like it, you just yank it?
If I can refinish it, I will.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't see why not.
New
It
vanity.
almost ends up being about the same. It's just the replumbing of stuff that like, if I'm replumbing the whole house, then just take out the tub and replace it.
Okay. So then you've got your, do you do tile on the floor or are you using some sort of
Depends. It's price point specific. So over 250, 275 now. If it's going to sell for more than that, tile everywhere. So kitchen and bathrooms. So all the wet rooms, right? But if it's sub that, LVP throughout if I can.
Like, and at that point, like, and I think we've even touched on it on some projects where it's like, just make one consistent, if it's a 1-story home, one consistent flooring service throughout the entire thing. So
you don't want 2 or 3 or 4.
An LVP that just goes everywhere because there's nothing psychologically worse. And I mean, even the house that we're sitting in right now, when we bought it, there were 5 different types of flooring services on the first floor alone.
Yeah.
And it was like, who made this call? But as a consumer walking in, you're like, I don't know what's wrong, but something is terribly wrong. Again, the subconscious mind.
It eliminates the I'm going to have to do a project later idea, right? It's just like they buy the house and it's a finished product.
Right. So it almost feels like new construction at that point. Because if you've done all the flooring and you've done all the walls and done all the outlets and all the hinges and all the doors and all the trim and all, like, you just described new construction, especially if they're new windows. I mean, gosh forbid you like actually do essentially have to take it down to the studs. Like it is new construction, right? All right. So in those spaces, do you think people are accounting for cost of materials properly at this point? Or, I mean, because you get a lot of people that are coming up to you like, hey, what would you do here? what do you see them not accounting for in those processes? Like they got materials, maybe they're not factoring in labor, like or vice versa.
Labor can be off a lot. I think materials aren't fluctuating as much as they were, but labor, and we based on the economy right now, labor's all over the place. If you talk to the wrong person, yeah, they're busy because they're good at what they do, and then their price is aggressive, right? And then there's a lot of people that don't really, but you can get pricing at 40% of cost, right? So like significantly cheaper, but the quality is not going to be so like, yeah, that's really what's going to throw you off completely.
And I'm sure this is something that's been touched on many times, but like this is going with the cheapest versus going with like somebody that actually has been referred to you by others. Have you had any instances where you've been tempted to just like find the literal cheapest and then be like, I really regret this? Or have you just feel like you naturally, from your background, you'd have a good ability to vet them out?
Yeah. So it's not a bad word, guys, but I haze people.
Okay.
I haze contractors.
I was saying
prior
vet.
to them starting.
Vet is probably a more appropriate word.
Yeah, I feel connected with hazing. I don't
Okay.
know. I guess because I got hazed in college.
I mean,
I didn't. No, but yeah, so I thoroughly vet them. I thoroughly haze them, if you will. So just everything from response time to you're supposed to show up at 1:30 and they show up late, they show up on time. I'm almost making a point to be a little extra aggressive on the front end. Just to see how they react, see if they're willing to accommodate, apologize, whatever at the very onset. And if they are, then I'm willing to give them a little bit more of a chance. Okay, give me a number. Hey, and I kind of explain a little bit about my business. So like I have multiple projects. If you give me a good number on this and we do it in a timely fashion, then I do have a couple others that are lined up. So I do that to like see what they do.
And that's real, right? And you would never suggest to somebody that does not have that pipeline to suddenly just claim that, because that's a real jerk move.
Yeah.
If you don't like, so a little pro tip here. if you don't have 3 other projects lined up, don't tell the guy whose sole income is dependent on, you having these projects. Don't tell him like you've got work for him that doesn't materialize. But you, in your case, you genuinely do. So what you're saying is you want to build that long-term relationship.
Yeah, I do. But to answer your question, I have hired and had, in fact, a plumber recently. I've probably been working with him for maybe a couple of years now, and he's always the cheapest. But he has lately become very inconsistent. He ghosted me for a couple projects. We had to finish the projects, and I just had to let him go and find another plumber that's 30% more expensive. And it's just, but that's more the going rate than the other guy. Right.
Gotcha.
So I have done that before and it never pans out. In fact, this one last time in his last project, he delayed me listing a house for 2 weeks because of his inconsistency in schedule.
Right. And money holding costs, that could be anywhere from $50 to $100 a day.
Yeah.
On top of just, I mean, what do you call the money? That's just an interest, right? But much less opportunity cost lost and things like that. Okay.
Yeah. So I've done that before, and I wouldn't recommend it. I would hold a tight ship, have the standards, and just base yourself off that.
For those that are thinking, okay, I'm going to self-manage this. I'm not going to hire a GC. Like, which trade do you think is the most notorious for being unreliable?
Plumbers.
Plumbers. Is there any logic to it, or is it just like they're more in demand? Like,
yeah, that's part of it. But roofers, they measure it all out, and unless it's plywood or whatever that they need that's extra, they can usually quickly go and then come back and get it done. But it's a small enough project that they can get it done quickly. Windows, same thing. Electrical, they have big strings or big wires, rolls of wires that can bend and go wherever, right? So that's really not a problem for most of them, right? They don't have to go to the store because they need a 90-degree angle thing for their plumbing, right? So that's usually why plumbers, in my opinion, are usually the ones that are off, because your grade may be a certain way. It's not like a one size fits all for things, right? So the grade has to be a certain distance. Now they need additional straps. And oh my God, there's this other thing that's here, a sub pump. So now I kind of have to bend it a little bit more. So I need a 45-degree for that. Like it ends up, we need a clean out here. So like, depending on the bathroom, depending on the house, depending on the plumbing, depending on the 2 stories, 1 story, whatever it is, they need a bunch of different, very specific sometimes like tools.
Right. Or you're trying to take out a
materials.
wall and there's a plumbing stack there. And he's like, I was really banking on that staying there.
Yeah.
So now we got to redo this whole thing.
Correct.
Yeah.
So like, that's why I think that they're probably the ones that, and it's usually always the more urgent stuff, right? So they're probably doing projects like this, and they're also like attending to
Emergency work after
my
hours.
toilets,
Okay.
clogged up or whatever. So that's why, in my opinion, they're always the most inconsistent. So if you're going to stay on top of somebody, or you're going to pay a little bit extra and have like a professional do it, do plumbing.
Gotcha. And then as far as projects and delays, I mean, historically, has it been plumbing that's delayed you the most?
Yeah. Yeah, I would say over the last year, probably it's always been plumbing.
Okay.
It's always been plumbing. Everything else is, but it's all, I also have an unfair advantage because I have like an electrician in-house, and everything else can pretty much be taken care of by the guys that I have in-house. So they can install windows and flooring and kitchens and bathrooms and stuff like that. But plumbing, no. Plumbing is a little bit more specific for the reasons I've explained.
When you're teaching somebody how to price all this stuff out, is it just kind of like I almost feel like for us it's like kind of we just say, oh, it's going to be $8,000 for a roof if it's like a A-frame 1,000 square foot house, 10 if it's a 2-story whatever, 12 if it's something with more peaks or whatever, and then you kind of get into, unless it's like a 4,000 square foot plus whatever.
Yeah.
Then obviously then it kind of you're like on a 15 plus. Do you have like kind of a set thing with like windows now? You're just like, okay, boom, it's going to cost me this. Roof's going to cost
$500 a window. Yeah, I do.
Yeah,
It
up
makes
from
it easy.
170 pre-COVID. That's pretty nice, huh?
Man, then we used to get them for like, I think it was like $235, $250 installed and wrapped for a while.
Yeah.
It was nuts.
Well, that was always the best phone call when it went from 230 to 240, and they were calling to apologize.
Yeah.
And now it's 500 or go F yourself.
Yep. You have to wait 8 weeks, 16 weeks. I mean, it got crazy for a while, but now I think it's consistently 8 weeks. But before it was like 3 weeks, 4 weeks, and you can get them installed.
Still 8 weeks on Windows?
At least last I checked.
Yeah. It's getting, I feel like it's getting better.
I hope so.
I'm like, they're not at least claiming the same problems they were before. So I'm like, so then why don't we have a warehouse full of windows? And I haven't gotten an answer yet.
Supply and demand, man.
So
that's how they can keep prices up, I guess.
So you mastered refinancing these things, so the BRRRR method, right? So for those that aren't familiar with that acronym, it's buy, rehab, rent, refi, or whatever.
Repeat.
I'm sure there's repeat. All right, there's another R in there somewhere. BRRRR. You've got that process down, but then you were like, you know what? Let's pivot a little bit and get into the world of wholesaling. What on earth made you say, I'm doing really well here, so let's try our hand at something else?
I started seeing there be a lack of wholesalers or deals that were coming through, and once one domino falls, others will follow. So I saw that there was starting to be a lack of deals. Just the deals weren't good enough. They weren't juicy. Like no one was really fighting unless it was a really good deal, which sometimes happens, and you guys have sometimes, right? But there were less and less of those, and there were more that were sitting. And I only saw that wholesalers would eventually start to fall off the face of the earth, right? Those that were inconsistent or were blowing their money off their assignment deals, and they just weren't putting the right marketing back. They weren't being strategic about it. I was imagining, just based off of what I saw, that they would eventually start to fall off. And if my business hinged on other people and their performance or lack thereof, then I would suffer from that, right? So it was January of 22, I think. I think it's going to be 2 years in January. I had already tried before, half-hearted effort, right? But in January of 22 is when I was like, you know what? Let me give it a good old college try. Let me actually spend some money on it. And whatever comes through, I'll just keep it. If it's a good enough deal, like I'll just keep it and then put it in the pipeline, and then it'll just be my projects, right? Because again, it's like me not wanting to work for others. I didn't want to depend on others for my business.
Right, so if we raise the price, as a wholesaler, if I raise the price on you, then you're like, well, how am I going to make these numbers work?
Exactly.
But I know somebody will buy it. It just might not be you.
It's not going to be me anymore. So I just saw that as being like something that I needed to do in order to kind of continue to, do as many deals as I was doing or I wanted to do. Right. So then it just became another door that I was like, you know what? I always think of it like as a house, and I'm building another room. So I need another door to be able to have a family room or another bedroom or whatever. So let me build another door that I can walk in and use if I want to, right? Let me just keep it ajar. So that's what I did. We started to spend some money and we started having some success, and I've bought some deals. I've flipped some deals. Since we started.
Which do you like better, the acquisition side or the actual project management side?
To be honest, I like the big picture side. Like, I don't necessarily care for either. Like, I'm not really passionate about either one of them.
Okay.
Sitting at a dining room table and talking to somebody about it, it's like, again, the patience thing. If you guys picked up on that earlier, I'm just like, I've never said this, but I'm like, are we going to get this done or not? Like, I got to go.
What do you mean,
like,
think about it? Wow, why'd you call me out here?
Yeah. No. So, yeah, no, I mean, I've done it. I do it. It's, feeds the business, but I'm not like super passionate about it.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't necessarily see it being like the cornerstone of my business, and that's what's going to like, I'm going to put all my energy there. If I have a conversation, they're like, hey, you have 7 things, drop 5. I don't think that would be one of the, I don't even know what would be in the top 2, to be honest.
You said that it's a means to an end, or it's like towards the vision. What is the vision for the future? Like where, I don't want to say where do you see yourself in 5 years?
Sure.
Like, yeah, but like where are we heading?
So we're headed more into the commercial space. We're headed more into running what we have as a business, opposed to like, it's the quadrants, right? So going from self-employed to business owner. So me more focused on the acquisition and deal structure of it all. That's really what gets me going. So me focused more on that, having Rocio more focused on the administrative assistant part. So her managing the people, right? Just making sure we're like making money and keeping afloat and stuff.
Because we didn't even mention this, but Rocio now is full-time in the business as well.
Yeah, that's my wife, Rocio.
And then she did that how long ago?
I think it's going to be 3 years.
Okay. And would you say that there's anybody in your life that was particularly aggressive and sort of pushing you to bring your wife into your business?
Yeah, this really obnoxious guy. Adam knew, actually.
Right, yeah.
Hey. No, we had really healthy conversations while we were doing those projects with you guys, actually. So we had multiple healthy conversations. She worked for CoStar, which is like the multifamily kind of hub or data center for the nation. And she worked for him here, and she was doing well for herself. She didn't really care for the culture. She saw what I was doing. I was already kind of at the point where I was kind of hitting a rev limiter, and I was just like, I either need to stay consistent or just hire somebody, but I'm not a good manager, so I think this is going to fail. So we had a serious conversation after talking to you and talking to Amanda and seeing like the partnerships that you guys have and how fruitful that was. And just like, you know what? We have the skill sets that you on multiple occasions pointed out. We have the skill sets to have this be a good partnership. Let's give it a try. Yeah. Like, if the shit hits the fan, like, we can just sell a house. Yeah. Like, you can get a job and then we'll be balanced out again.
And I would go as far as to say, like, so I think there's this thing where everybody's a badass on the other side of a big decision, right? Everything leading up to that is, well, what could go wrong? What if? Like, I don't want to leave the safety net of the W-2. I don't want my wife to, because that is good money. Yeah. Right. It's not, she wasn't stocking the shelves at Barnes and Noble. Yeah. Right. Where you're just like, it's inconsequential money. Right. You know, she's part-time at a frozen yogurt stand. Yeah. Right. She was making good money, and you're like, we're good. Yeah. We're good. But oftentimes, like, the most selfish thing you can say is like, we're good. Yeah. Right. Because you're just like, well, we don't need to take action. We don't need to improve. We don't need to do anything, because like, it's working fine right now, but it could still be better. It's evident in the last 3 years. It's gotten significantly better with her working full time in the business. But I also want to point out to anybody that's sitting there saying like, I don't know if we can do this. It's really like, it's the dumb stuff. Like, we're having questions about health insurance and like in the grand scheme of things, like, if it's important to you, it's important. Yep. But like, to an outsider, it's a joke. Yeah. Right. You're just like, oh, really? Health insurance is what's holding you back? Well, like, well, I have that at my job. Like, it turns out you can acquire that outside of one too. And so obviously everybody's a badass on the other side. We went through the exact same thing when they're like, should we do this? Should we not do this? And like, That's not easy. It is not
You guys
easy.
did it at the same time too, which is like
Within like what 45 days of each other.
yeah,
but
same
like
time. Talk about two engines going out at the same time.
yeah, that was interesting. Yeah, we were landing in the Hudson. So if you're looking at this thinking like, okay, well then we'll quit our jobs too. Like, yeah, maybe that's the right answer for you, but also like you got to know the strengths of the people that you're playing with. Your wife had been in a very large multifamily company, dealing with contractors, dealing with this nonsense, and that's a very, number one, a very male-dominated industry. It's a very aggressive industry. So she's dealing with contractors and timelines and all this other stuff, which was a natural fit, right? She wasn't running the frozen yogurt stand. And now all of a sudden you're asking her to deal with contractors, and she's like, I am so in deep water, right? She'd already been playing in that space. So you had that benefit there. You have the benefit of a personality that naturally matches yours and happens to be married to you. So you know that she's loyal in the sense of having your best interest in mind. That's where you have to take that independent assessment. You're not going to just be able to just, cross your fingers that your wife is in commercial contracting, because that's not most of our story, right? Where I am particularly impressed by you guys is that you rose to that challenge in a very short period of time. Most folks take years after that initial conversation. You guys actually did it in fairly short order, and it's worked out really well. So today, the state of your business, like you mentioned, it's a brokerage, and that's growing and that's doing well. You have are you still in Airbnb? So Airbnb portfolio, long-term portfolio.
Adding 5 more Airbnbs actually.
So you're doing what?
5 more.
You're adding 5 more Airbnbs? Okay, so more than one Airbnb being added this year. The long-term stuff, you do anything in medium term? Like the mid-term?
No. So it's really just short-term and long-term.
Okay. I would say a business that's thriving in the wholesale space, a business that's thriving in the BRRRR space. So that's huge for you there. And then you said just going forward, commercial. So when you say commercial, you thinking warehouses? Like, there's a million ways you can go with that. So
sure. So little backstory is my wife used to work for a national property management company. She used to work for Greystar, which is national or international. She worked for Bozzuto. And obviously she's worked at CoStar, some more data stuff, right? And she's done communities as large as 500 units, and she used to manage managers of buildings, right? So the idea always, since 2019, was to get into commercial. It was always a plan. It was always the idea. The numbers never made sense. Yeah, we were small time. We didn't have big commercial money. So that was never kind of like something that we felt like it was attainable. But the way to get there was always like the small single family space, right? Which is why, if you know me, or you've taken from the conversation, I'm an equity guy, not necessarily cash flow guy. I don't really care to live a lavish life and drive the whatever, or live in a big house or whatever. But if I have a big net worth, I can play with that later, right? Because it'll end up being the fuel that's going to feed the commercial space. So the plan for 2025 is to get into office space, medical office space, and then multifamily space, right? So doing a combination of the two.
Is that ground up construction?
Not ground up construction. So it's all value add stuff.
Okay.
Yep. So we see that there's a big opportunity. There's a big silver tsunami. There's a lot of older folks that are looking to get out, and that's who we're talking to. And they're open to holding paper. And by paper, I mean just holding a note, so them financing it for you. So they're open to that. They're open to being aggressive in terms of price, and especially with value add opportunities. So we're looking to move into that space, maybe liquidate some other stuff that we already have, and just move into that and play with I won't call it big boys, because it's still smaller buildings, right? But play in a different space and still do the combination of all of it. So just adding
you're not
number
giving up
8.
single family.
We're not giving up a single family. So that's what I mean by the next phase is just running it more like a business. So still do the marketing, still get the deal flow in, and then just have somebody that takes care of it for us.
Are you seeing yourself stepping out entirely, or like you saying you kind of letting the single family start to run itself so you can pursue commercial?
Yeah, so me step out a little bit more. I mean, I'd still be in it some, right? Just to make sure it runs properly, at least for several months. But It'll be a certain point where I hope to like fully walk out, because I have several guys that have worked for me for like 4-5 years, right? So they know the quality and expectations. Now, when there's new management that comes in that they now have to listen to and whatever, so there might be a bit of a hiccup or like internal battle there. But as long as everybody gets on the same page with the same objective and everybody's incentivized the right way, then I can step out and then that can continue to flow. And then I can focus on other things.
Gotcha. So if a wholesaler's out there and he's like, "Oh, I think I want to get this guy to buy my thing," what's the best way to get in touch with you? Don't put your cell phone number out there.
I was gonna say,
so
find me on Facebook. I guess Facebook is probably the best way.
Facebook, Instagram.
Yeah, DM me. I don't have Instagram. I don't have Twitter. No, Twitter or X
TikTok
or TikTok. I don't have TikTok
X,
either.
TikTok.
Yeah, I don't have any of those. So Facebook, good old
Facebook.
Good old Facebook.
Carlos Salazar. In the DMs, slide into the DMs and show him your deals. But you're continuing to acquire, getting into commercial in 2025. What is the thing that you would say to somebody that's just now getting started in their 18, 22, and they're like, I don't know. Like, is there a particular buy box that you would suggest them start off with? Or is it just go find a good deal?
I think that really is it. Like, if you get a good deal, you're going to get a lot of support. When you're going to get more lenders and then you can also make a few more mistakes. Like forget about the trim, right? Miscalculate the number of windows that you need to replace. Get hammered by the seller if you're flipping it. Get hammered by the seller, right? Mm-hmm. Because of repair items that need to get addressed. That's if you're doing the renovation part. If you're wholesaling, jump in and just spend the money. It's going to be tough, but spend the money, figure it out. Associate yourself with other people that might want to support, buying the deal, like myself, like Adam. And I would say we'd walk you through what's a good deal or what's not a good deal, what we'd pay for it. But I would just try to lock it up.
Yeah.
Lock it up and then talk to us. And then it's like, what are you thinking? Yeah, no.
Would you say that you've had a lot of conversation with folks where you're just like, okay, so you put it in a contract at 300, it's worth 110.
Yeah.
How wildly off do you typically see somebody that's just getting started?
I've had to put a percentage to it. I would say about 23% off. Like, it's just, they want 185 and it's worth 135. Like, it's just like, that doesn't make
Do you see a lot of like on market deals coming to you where people like, you just kind of look at them like, what am I going to do with this?
Yeah.
Like,
I need to do a better job about replying. I would say reply, be cordial. I think it goes a long way. And then when they do have a deal, they'll be willing to come to you opposed to just ignoring. Because if you ignore, then they're just like, maybe Carlos isn't buying anymore. He might be out of the market. The market is shifting. The buyer and seller market as an investor is shifting. So there's a lot of people that were in the market in 2020, 21, 2, 3, and now they're starting to get out of the game, and they may assume that you're one of them if you don't reply. So I think you have to reply, entertain a number, make an offer that's reasonable, in a respectful way. And I think it just keeps you in mind.
For somebody like, and because I think we've kind of hit on contracting pretty significantly, but I'll go back to it in the sense of where do you think, like, what do you think the future of BRRRRing is going forward? Like, is it going to be the type of thing where people are going to continue to be successful in that, or they just need to be okay with the fact that there's going to be less equity going forward? I mean, we're still saying that high interest rate environment, so cash flowing becomes a greater concern, especially at higher price points. We're in kind of a market where we're kind of like at a small to medium price point still, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, Richmond does well. It's very competitive, but like Richmond does well, but it's not like Southern California where we're just like, I don't like that. You just add a zero to it, right?
Yeah.
Do you think that BRRRRing is just overall a successful strategy for somebody going forward?
Publicly, so make sure you edit this out. No, stop doing BRRRRing. You shouldn't do it anymore. Between us and between everybody that's listening, it's still a success. It's still something that can work out. You obviously have to get a good deal. And I think that's really what it all hinges on. I mean, not to boast or anything, but I just refied 3, maybe like 2 weeks ago, and pulled out $65,000. Like, that was after the refinancing fees. And I mean, it was $100,000 of equity that I could pull out, but then all the closing costs or whatever. And it's still going to cash flow, I think between $250 and $300 per house.
Okay.
This was in like late October.
Okay. So yeah, this is recent. And these are houses that you've recently acquired.
Recently acquired, renovated, put tenants in place, and are still cash flowing. They appraised. Okay. So I think and again, all those deals came from my marketing, right?
So you didn't have to have the middleman of the wholesaler because you were the wholesaler.
So I do want to make sure that I highlight that and that's why I'm laterally integrated, because I save in every facet, right? So I save on the assignment fee. I save on the renovations. If I'm flipping it, I save on the sale. If I'm holding it, I'm saving on the property management. I'm saving on a number of different facets, right? So, that deal maybe wouldn't have net me anything because I would have had to pay 3 assignment fees and 3 contractors to get the project done. So I would just say figure out where your strengths are, lean into those strengths. It may just be one, but one is better than none, right? So just master that one thing and then you'll crush it, right? So maybe it's not wholesaling, maybe it's the contracting part. Lean into that. Mm-hmm. Get really efficient on that piece. Or if it's wholesaling, get really good at that and pay a good contractor to just get the project done. Yeah. And it's like it all balances itself out. But I just happen to, stack it in a way where it works out.
Yeah, it's worked out. He's doing okay.
Doing all right.
He's doing okay. It's when anybody says I'm comfortable, that's when you're like, yeah, okay. So let's talk about one other passion that you've got. Recently, you and your wife have started Ring Latino.
Yep.
Okay, so what's the why behind that?
So it comes from us being immigrants, right? I mean, I was born here, whatever, right? We were born here, but it comes from our parents, it comes from uncles, it comes from aunts. Just trying to figure it out and having the right mindset of we want the American dream. We want to invest in ourselves. We want to invest in our community. We want to have opportunities for our family, et cetera, just like all of us do. But because the majority of the Latinos don't feel comfortable asking the good question in a weird accent, they just won't ask it, right? The cultural difference of, hey, I'm not going to borrow money. What we do is we spend our own cash, and then that's how we end up making our investments. That's not necessarily the smartest, wisest thing to do, but I respect it, but there's this other option, and sometimes they've never been exposed to it because back home, that wasn't an option, right? If you go back to Mexico, I was recently in Mexico, we were talking to a business owner there, and most of their loans are 35-40%. That's the interest. Right. So they've become accustomed to you just don't borrow money because for every $1 it's 40 cents.
Right.
Right. So they become accustomed to just saving money. So it's a big cultural difference for them. And we've had success. We speak Spanish and we're just looking to share the information. Right. So what we're doing is we're trying to attract, like-minded individuals, both that speak both English and Spanish. Primarily those who speak Spanish in the contracting world that have those levers, that have those benefits. They probably have kids. They probably have a wife that can be their agent, whatever it is, but allow them to recognize the levers that they do have so that they can eventually start to buy the deals and, do appreciable business. Right. So there's a lot of things that they don't know of that we want to expose them to. I'll give you the last example is, I would love for more of the Spanish community to buy houses directly from you, right? Or from me. That doesn't tend to be the case. They usually, because of loyalty, because of how they've been trained, because of agents, is that they approach agents, and agents then are the conduits that then find them the deal, and then they take a cut, right?
That sounds like
agents may not like me.
Yeah, that sounds like that. It sounds a lot like they're being taken advantage of.
Correct. And that's what I don't want, right? And I don't think anybody should be taken advantage of that way, right? If you were being taken, I would call that out and be like, hey, you can just go directly to the wholesaler.
Which, from a wholesaler's perspective, the Hispanic community actually makes the best buyers.
Yeah, for sure.
And not from a dollars and cents perspective, like meaning from a agreeableness. They're not on some ego trip. Like they're not just out there sitting there they're like, I like this house. The numbers work for me. I think we can put a deal together. Your price is good. I'd like to buy this in cash.
Yeah.
Like that's the best case scenario. When somebody comes to the table and they're friendly and nice and respectful and then I meet someone that looks like me and they're on some ego trip, right? And they're trying games they're doing, or they've got sold on fake it till you make it. And then you're just like, who the heck? Like, no, I'm not calling you back, right?
No.
I would actually go so far as to say like the top 4 out of 5 buyers I have are Hispanic.
Yeah, I agree with you. And I think everybody wins when they go directly to the wholesaler, right? So the more educated they are, the more business they can do. And the more direct to whatever the watering hole is, whether it's if they're planning on burring and they go directly to the lender, or they try on buying assignment deals and they go directly to the more they can make from it, and therefore the more business they're going to want to do, right? I mean, I'll give you another example of like misinformation that's out there. I've had a lender that's taken advantage of 3 different Latinos that I know that are part of the Ring group.
So like real quick, Richmond Investor Network Group, Latino. Okay. So let's just find that on Facebook. So if you know somebody that is a Spanish speaking investor, make sure you encourage them to go to Richmond Investor Network Group, or Ring Latino. Okay.
And we do talk about Richmond specifically, but more like broader, just information about real estate investing for Latinos. But there's a lender that's out there that's fully taking advantage of Latinos. They've structured their loan in such a way that essentially strips them of all of their gains, right? Of all of their forced appreciation when they sell the house, and sometimes even puts them in a negative position, right? It's exited. Of those 3, all 3 have had to exit the industry and go back to contracting because of how they were taken advantage of. And
otherwise, what would have been incredibly profitable deals.
Yes.
Yeah.
And again, that's just from being exposed. They were being guided in the wrong direction and not having a hub. Now, it's for you to find out if we're the right hub for you, and are we honest, and are we being transparent, and how much should we really know? But that's for you to come out and find out, or for you to tell your friends to come out and find out and talk to us, right? See what kind of business we actually do. See if you think the information is relevant or not. But it's for us just to like put the information out there so that you're not making ignorant decisions just because the information's not out there.
Yeah. Right. No, and I mean this is like it's a greater global concern, right? I mean you're talking about immigrant labor being a concern, like people being taken advantage of there. You're talking about so now we're talking about financing terms. We're talking about who they have to go through to buy the deals, not realizing they could just call me up, or have a buddy call me up, and as long as we can get something translated, I mean we have apps for that now, right? Exactly. It's not hard to communicate, especially when it's black and white. We were talking about, I would like to buy this house for X dollars. Yeah. Yes, I'd like to sell it to you for that. Exactly. This is not, we're not translating a lot of nuance here.
Yeah, you could translate PDF contracts to expand it. It's not as complicated as, and that's what we want to expose. It's just like that it's not as complicated.
And that's the knowledge gap. Those are the primary knowledge gaps that you would say are the ability to acquire.
Yep.
Then financing.
Yep.
Are there any other big?
I would say that those are probably the biggest ones. In using their own cat. So the lending part and taking it, but strategy. Right. So being able to do it smarter, faster, better. Yeah. And they're just not even exposed to it. They're just like, I do 2 a year, and that's great, but they may want to do more. So just have the information that if you decide to, you can,
right,
opposed to it being taboo of they don't talk about it. And that it very much feels that way in that community. It's like, they don't talk about it. And then as we know, we're part of several, Richmond real estate networking groups, and we talk about it.
Yeah, we're talking terms. We're talking who you're buying from, who's your plumber.
Yeah.
What's your marketing? So all of that is just and it's almost overshare. Really, we're just I don't. You've told me this before.
Yeah,
I get it.
But they don't talk about it in their community because they feel as though it should be taboo, which it probably is in most markets. We may be an unusual market in Richmond where we overshare and have friends and we're We're not like going for each other's throats for limited deal supply.
I would say that like that is one thing that like we are blessed with locally in Richmond is that we're all so tied in that a bad actor doesn't get to stay very long. Like without at least a reputation.
I guess sussed
they might still be participating in the free market economy. Like we're not going to, pitchforks and torches, you can kick them out or anything. But like it's going to be hard to do business with anybody that we know very quickly. And because of that, like you don't see outright deal theft because that gets put down immediately.
Yeah.
Because it's not like somebody's gonna be able to take one of my deals to you. Like you're just gonna pick up the phone and be like, hey, I just got a call.
Exactly.
It's like, whereas I've seen it in major metros, and I had a buddy in Los Angeles that would talk about this from the standpoint of like, it's just in broad daylight. And then you would be like, dude, that's my deal. I've got it, and so like they would go to almost to the point of where they would like everything got recorded the second they did it. And then like the second they even got a whiff, like it was like a Liz Pendants. And like, so they were, obviously their spreads are much higher, but like their protection of a deal was in the thousands.
Yeah.
Whereas like these are problems that like we've never run into.
Yeah.
And it's just because you will so quickly be put down. It's not even worth your time.
No.
So yeah, I think we are blessed in that regard. Because we're in that small to medium sized city, but like, we also have like more gurus per capita than just about any city in the country, which is weird. There's probably more advertising dollars being spent per capita in Richmond. So if you're taking away from this, like I should invest in Richmond, I'm like, best of luck to you.
Yeah. Good luck. Give it a shot.
I'm going to invest in Richmond from a distance. And I'm like, and I'm sitting in their living room telling them why that's a bad idea. So so it's, yeah, I would say we're definitely blessed there. I'm really excited about that for you guys because I think that is going to be an educational piece that's going to spread like wildfire because we know that community doesn't just exist in Richmond. It's even larger, especially outside of Richmond. And ultimately, at the end of the day, like that's the greater good. I mean, you're putting a lot of good energy out into the world. You and your wife both doing that. And I think you're continuing something that's already been a successful, we'll just call it a franchise at this point for Ring.
Yeah.
Taking something that's been successful here in Virginia for investors and then just bringing it to the Latino community. So that's awesome. Carlos, I thank you for being here today.
Thank you, Adam.
I genuinely, so I get a little misty when I think about this, but like I genuinely consider you to be a friend, but also someone that like there was a part of our journey that had you not existed in our life, I don't know how we would be where we are today. So thank you. I consider you someone to be of high integrity. I have an incredible amount of respect for you and your wife. And the only thing that I would ask you to personally work on is your golf game.
Thanks. Yeah. But I need to spend more money in with the trainer or the coach. As
you step further and further out of the business, then maybe that's something you can do.
Yeah.
So thank you for your time today. And again, if you guys have a deal and you want to, and you're working in Richmond and you want to talk to Carlos, obviously find him on Facebook. Obviously, we're Talented Investors That Share. Find us on Facebook as well, Talented Investors That Share. Find us there. We've got a big old group for you. And then this podcast will continue on. And we're looking forward to bringing you more content and more fine guests like Carlos. Thanks, guys. Thanks for listening to the Talented Investors That Share podcast. Please share this with other talented investors on YouTube, your favorite streaming platform, and on Facebook at the Talented Investors That Share group. That's the best way to get your questions answered, network with other investors, and just get to know everybody better and learn.
Yeah, guys, for real. This is all he's got. So please do it.
That may be true, but did you have to put it like that?